Good evening. The City Council will convene on Thursday, April 13th, 2023 to hold a regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business via in-person and remote participation in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. 2, real-time public comment during public hearings can be addressed to the Peabody City Council utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. Please also see the link provided. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment of silence and recognize retired Lynn firefighter and current Lynn City Councilor Barton, who recently passed away. So if you please join me in a moment of silence. Now please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you've heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. Moving on to... I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. You've heard the motion from Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Moving on to hearings this evening. First hearing is... limousine license renewal for Sunshine Car Services, LLC, doing business as Sunshine Taxi, 153 Newbury Street. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, April 13th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., remotely via Zoom on the application from Sunshine Car Service, LLC, DBA Sunshine Taxi, 153 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting a limousine license for the use of 4 limousines at said 153 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. For the petitioner, could you please provide your name and address and tell us what you'd like to do?
Hold it. I have to hold it? All right, sorry. Carmen Gaeta, 5 Winchester Drive, Linfield, co-owner of Sunshine Car Service, LLC. We currently operate a cab company in Peabody. We have had difficulties over the past couple of years, as everyone has, and have had to pivot to from a taxi company that was traditionally, hailing rides and all that, and we're more of a social service ride system where we're taking people to, doctor's appointments, elderly people to, just various appointments. So we're not really a cab company. So what we're looking to do is shift our taxis to liveries, just in order to save money for, insurance purposes, essentially.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone here this evening who would like to speak in favor of this petitioner? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in favor of this petitioner? Seeing none, is there anyone this evening who would like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. How you doing, Carmen?
Good, how you doing?
So basically, you're just going to house these limos at 153, the same place with Sunshine.
Yeah, limo's the wrong term. I mean, these are mini. It's a minivan, a sedan. They're not. They're not stretch limos. They're not going to be at 153. They're going to be with the operators or on the road.
Okay.
You'll never. I'll be honest with you. You could park there all day. If you see them pulling for gas, that's about it.
Okay.
You'll never see them at that address.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Open it up for other councilors. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the petitioner. So, are there cars for sale on that same property? Is that your property? The gas
Yes.
station, and then there's cars for sale. That's all. So we have a gas station, and we have a number of cars there, and now we're going to have another service running out of that area?
No, this is the same cab company that's been based out of 153 Newbury the entire, I want to say almost 10 years now. Yet again, you will never see my taxis parked there or my liveries parked there. They with the drivers or at their homes, or they're on the road at all times.
So, okay, it's that time of year, the fans are on in here, so I'm having a hard time hearing you. So you're already there, Sunshine
So
Business is already there,
an
so why are
existing-
you here tonight for a special permit if it's already there?
I'm looking, currently I only have taxi licenses within the city of Peabody. So now I am looking to get limousine licenses, which allow me to run livery plates versus a taxi license plate. This changes the classification of my vehicles in terms of their insurance, and it allows me to save money to, stay in business.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I have another question. That abandoned billboard that is there, is that on your property, or is it is it on the property next door?
Could you be more specific, which billboard?
It is an abandoned, it's not, the 93-foot ones, those lovely things that we have, but it's a really old billboard, because I pulled up your property online, and if you're looking at your gas station,
Okay.
it's right to the left. And it's about, I don't know how many feet high.
So if
25
you're
feet
looking
high,
at-
it's an old one.
So if I'm looking at the station here, it's in front of you, and you're continuing north on Route 1, is it further past it? It's like to the left of the station, would you say, closer to the trailer park that's right there?
Yes,
that's
that's
more than-
exactly what I'm talking about.
I know we have a sign that's fairly new that's ours. Anything beyond that, I want to say is going to be the hotel that is, the foundation is there for. I don't believe it's ours. I would have to see a picture, though. I'm really not clear in my
Okay.
mind what it is.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, in that picture, there was also a boat being stored that was on your property. Is there still boat storage there? Because you're not supposed to have boats there.
I want to say that's gotten moved. It was there in the last couple weeks, so I think it was for sale, but I think it was like one of the guys who works for us who had it just sitting there. He's like, "Oh, I'll sell it with the car." It's kind of, but I can have it removed if it is still there.
Yeah,
I don't believe
it's
it
just, it's you have quite an active area there with a lot going on, and because it's Route 1, I always go back to what Councilor Yakis would always say, just because it's Route 1 doesn't mean that we don't look for good, clean, aesthetically pleasing businesses on Route 1. So,
of course.
you want to make sure that you're keeping up the area. You got a lot going on, and
Oh, yeah.
we don't want things there that shouldn't be there. We don't want leftover signage and, kind of trashing it up.
Okay, yeah,
So
of course.
that's my concern. So thank you
Sure.
very much.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Any other councilors with questions or comments? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Councilors, you've heard the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, at this time, I move approval on the application from Sunshine Car Service LLC, doing business as Sunshine Taxi, 153 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting a limousine license for the use of 4 limousines at said 153 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Offer on. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, councilors. Now moving on to hearing 4B, zoning ordinance redesignating the following parcels from residential R2 to central BC, assessors map 085, parcel 002H, and number 10 Monroe Street, assessors map 085, parcel 0021, and number 12 Monroe Street. Clerk Danforth, is there anything to add on that?
Councilors, we haven't received a recommendation from the planning board, and so we will have one before the next meeting.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Counselor Peach?
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the planning board has not met on this yet, I move to continue this hearing to our next meeting.
Thank you, Counselor Beach. Councilors, you've heard the motion. You've heard the motion on the. Yes, Counselor Turco.
Thank you. My apologies. Just on the motion, Councilor Peach, I actually met down there on the site the other day with Councilor Rossignol, and I was curious. I know they went through conservation, but being that when they went through conservation, it was for multifamilies. Do they have to go back to conservation since it's a additional dwelling?
Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Turco, I believe they will. I'm not sure whether or not they'll have to go through the entire process. A lot of the lengthy approvals that they needed to get have been done, and I don't think those things are changing, but they will need to go through conservation again because of the change in plans.
Okay, so just for clarity, we're waiting for planning board approval and conservation approval then before we hear this, correct?
Point of information, they have to, this is just for the zoning change. When they apply for the special permit for the housing, if the zoning change passes, they will need to go through conservation for the special permit.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor Turco. Thank you, Counselor Peach. On the motion, any further discussion? Councilors, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Moving on to item 4C, zoning amendment, amending section 6 entitled Special Regulation as follows by deleting in its entirety section 6.15 Mill Overlay District as adopted on March 14th, 2019, and inserting in place thereof a new section 6.15 entitled Mill Overlay District continued from January 12th, 2023. Clerk Danforth.
Councilors, we are waiting for some changes from community development that we have not received yet.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. As this is still in committee and we're still working on the document, I'd move to continue this to our, either our next hearing. I don't know if we'll meet in ICD prior to our next meeting, if we should kick it out further.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a bit of housekeeping through you to Councilor Peach, maybe to receive item 8N and refer it to this as well, which is the communication from community development.
Yeah, so moved.
I'm sorry.
So moved to
All right.
receive those two items and refer to ICD for this item.
Councilors, you've heard the motion. All in favor, any opposed? It's vote. Councilor McGinn? Okay, so Councilor Peach, you have a motion on the floor. Did you want to move this to the next ICD meeting, or?
I guess through you to the clerk, do we have a ICD meeting scheduled before our next council meeting, or should we look to push this into May?
So I'm trying to, still trying to firm up, Counselor, the next agenda for the 27th. And so it would depend on how much time Counselor Gould will need, because we'll have two items in there, and we have a finance and legal affairs that might take up a lot of time. And also the next meeting's time slots for subcommittees are already taken as well. So I think we'll have to make sure we fit it at the next meeting in order to get it in.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm anticipating us to tackle this on the 27th, if we can schedule that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. So to clarify, Councilor Peach, the amendment is to send this to the ICD for the meeting on the 27th, correct?
Yes, I'd move to continue this to our meeting on the 27th, which, if we report from committee favorably, we can discuss.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Councilors, you've heard the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4D, a special permit for 180 Newberry Street. Clerk Danforth, can you read the notice? My apologies, let me just read what item 4D is. 180 Newbury Street LLC regarding automotive repair shop in BR1 zoning district, continued from March 23, 2023. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, we have a communication I'd like to receive on the suspension rules, item 8J and 8K. For both these D and E that we have before us tonight, there was a request to continue this due to circumstances that are related to under suspension rules 8B. So I'd like to receive 8B, 8J, and 8K for this under suspension of the rules.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to move the attorneys here this evening. I don't know whether we want to move it to the 27th or would we be better off to move it to the 11th, pending some type of answers on these issues that we have before us.
I think that the
Councilor Gamache. Attorney Kelty.
my items J and K, 8J and K, set forth 27th as the date that I asked for.
Thank you, Mr. Kelty. I would refer continuing this to the 27th of April, so moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4F, 4E, which is related to what we just discussed, 180 Newbury Street LLC regarding sale of automobiles in BR1 zoning district. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, again, I would move this request for the continuance and move this to the meeting on April 27th.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, Councilor Turco.
Very quickly, through you, Councilor Welton, Mr. President, to Councilor Gamache, was it a 30-day notice to quit? Because
There has been a notice to quit, and I'm meeting with a few people concerning this issue on the notice to quit next week.
So I'm sorry, through you, Mr. President. The reason I asked if it was a 30-day or a 60-day is because if it was a 60-day, then I just want to schedule it out past the 60 days. But it was a 30-day?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, they were 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any other discussion on the motion made by Councilor Gamache? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4F, special permit for JG Backlund Realty Trust, 190R Newbury Street, regarding construction of 60-unit residential facility pursuant to the provision of residential overlay district, continued from July 14th, 2022. Clerk Danforth, anything to add on this? Councilor Gamache.
Yes, if I may, there was a request for information and other items to be answered, and there's a litany of questions that I sent over to the attorney, Mr. Kelty, to make sure that they were answered. We still do not have an approval per se from Will Politz, and based upon his schedule, he is going on vacation next week, and we will not be able to get this information, so I would request that we put this to May 11th.
Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, any discussion? Councilor Rossignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, motion to, before we move this forward, just motion to accept items 8A, 8D, 8L, 8Q, and R. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you. On the motion, could we get the attorney to consent to the date?
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Attorney Kelty, May 11th, correct? Is May 11th?
Yes, and I do have that written request for May 11th is the date that Thank you, Councilors. John Kelty, 40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. I have a letter which I did not want to be received as a late ad, but instead brought it in person, and I would orally ask that the matter be continued to May 11th. I'm aware of the communication that is item 8. Where is it? But I'm aware of, is it D? Mr. McGinn's questions to the applicant through Dave Gamache. I have that, and I am hopeful that I can tie all of those loose ends together with a meeting with Will Pollitt. The director, interim director, is on vacation next week, so I've skipped the meeting of May 27th in order to give the director time to respond, and we will at the same time, Councilor McGinn, address all of your questions and the items you've put in there. And this is the written version of what I'm saying.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Thank you, Councilor McGinn. So just to confirm, Councilor Gamache, we're asking to move this to May 11th, correct? Okay. Councilors, you've heard the motion made by Councilor Gamache. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, councilors. There's no reports of committees this evening, so we're moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor McGinn.
I would move to receive that as a late communication from Attorney Kelty.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion from Councilor McGinn, any discussion to receive the letter from Attorney Kelty? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Moving on, there are no reports of committees this evening, so we're moving to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Turco.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, I move to receive item 9C and approve, subject to all papers being in order.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Daigle. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Daigle.
No further motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to refer item 7A to legal affairs. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 7E, co-motion with Councilor McGinn to refer the release and settlement portion of 7E to legal affairs and the bond order portion of 7E to Finance Committee. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 8C and refer that to legal affairs. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 8G, special permit application for Maxwell Hill, 4 Lake Street, and set up a hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 8M and refer that to Legal Affairs Committee. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excuse me, I apologize. On the motion, discussion, Councilor McGinn. Or Councilor Melvin, my apologies.
Yeah. I think we're both going to say the same thing. Also refer to community, I would add that on there, Councilor, to community development as well for an opinion.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Just to make it more clear, do you mind amending your motion, Councilor O'Neill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I move to receive item 8M and refer that to Legal Affairs and request an opinion from Community Development. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. On the motion, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
And thank you, Mr. President. No further motions, but lastly, I just want to take a moment and let everyone know that I've decided not to seek re-election for Ward 6 next year. And briefly, my decision to not run again was not an easy one. However, I've taken on more responsibilities at work, and it's making it challenging to balance everything while maintaining a high level of service to the residents. And accordingly, I owe it to the Ward 6 residents to take a step back and make this my final term in the council. Representing Ward 6 for the past 6 years has been an honor and a privilege. I wanted to serve my neighborhood and the city, and was lucky enough to be given the chance to do exactly that. I'll make my final remarks at our council meeting at the end of this year. I have lots of thanks. However, for just thank you for the opportunity to serve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Thank you for your remarks and for your service, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that going forward. So, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8E.
Motion. None. All for any vote.
Mr. President, under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8P.
As you've heard the motion on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, for any opposed vote.
On that item, I just want to provide an update. This is the Lawson's at 59 Walnut Street. This communication from Cap Dowling. I did have him this week. He was able to. The delay is with the fire inspection and the building department inspections. And they came to the building department today, so I do expect that this is going to get wrapped up. Captain Dowling let me know there are 2 minor violations. He did an inspection today on site, but nothing of concern that we need to take immediate action. But as an update to the council, that's the delay on this lodging license, and I trust that the property owner is going to action this within the next month. So hopefully we have an update from the building department. So with that, I will make a motion to refer this matter to the acting building commissioner and have the building inspectors act upon it as they see fit in their department. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, as vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have had an issue with some business parking off of 114, parking on a residential street. So I'm going to make a motion to amend section 1999, 1 hour parking, to include these 2 areas within this 1 hour parking restriction along the property lines of 249 and 251 Andover Street on Gate Street. To include that on both sides of the street within the Peabody property line. It only runs along those 2 Andover Street properties. And also request DPS to install the 1 hour parking signs. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. On that motion, can you amend to include a motion to draft as advertised?
So moved. Motion to draft as advertised. Draft.
Excuse me, my apologies.
Draft and advertise.
Yeah,
thank you, Allison.
Thank you. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to make a motion for DPS to install no parking here to corner signs on Bowditch Street at the intersection of Bowditch and Water Street on both sides of the street.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
No further motions this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Manning Martin.
No motions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Peach to have the tree at 7 Evans Road reviewed and possibly taken down. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
No further motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Rossignol.
No motions this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, under suspension of rules, 9A, entertainment license new, Cuisina, 134 Newbury Street, set up a public hearing.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
9D, under suspension of rules, taxi limo driver's license, Dialeglio Pacheco, license 24. Move approval, all papers being in order.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote.
No further motions.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. President, and with relation to the item that was forwarded to Legal Affairs regarding the non-live entertainment licenses, I'd make a motion to request from the City Solicitor's Office language that would be necessary to eliminate the non-live entertainment permit and what would be required to do so. So moved.
Thank you,
and forward that to that would be for the legal subcommittee meeting when that comes up. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. The other item is we do have a scheduled charter review meeting on April 25th, and we have a tentative one scheduled for May 16th. So I just wanted to put that out to everybody. And I know we did receive a late communication today from the school committee. I'd make a motion to receive item late 1.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you. So a part of this is, as leading up to the meeting on April 25th, Clerk Danforth had forwarded an email to the school committee and the Electric Light Commission regarding any comments that they might have for this particular meeting. The plan is for the April 25th meeting, we did request information from Attorney Barrett. He has provided that information, so we would review that along with the other articles that we would take on that day. Additional to that, as you can see, the school committee is going to have a meeting to discuss their particular portion of the charter. I think it is, my goal has always been to get as much good information in front of the council as possible regarding this charter to make the best decisions as possible. So with that being said, I would make a motion to notify the school committee and the Electric Light Commission if they wish to provide any comments to get those to the clerk by May 11th for our May 16th charter review, and that they would direct those comments directly to the clerk so those could be distributed to the councilors in their packets so they could be prepared for that follow-up meeting. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you. So Allison will put together the packet and the agenda for that meeting on April 25th. And let me see, I'll give one more moment. Under suspension of the rules, I would move to approve with all papers being in order, item 9B, the Long Jewelers, 35 Cross Street, 2023 renewal. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lastly, Councilor O'Neill, thank you for your service to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. And Councilor Melville, thank you also for your continued hard work on the charter review. Much appreciated. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7B and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7C and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7D and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7F and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Did we get 8F? Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8F. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the suspension of the rules, on your behalf, Mr. President, move to receive item 8I and set up a public hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Counselor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Counselor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8H. So moved.
Thank you, Counselor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Counselor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8O and refer to finance. So moved.
Counselor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Counselor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8S and set up a public hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Counselor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Counselor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8T and set up a public hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Counselor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Counselor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further motions. Just a comment to Councilor O'Neill. You're a great counselor. You're a good friend, and I look forward to serving the balance of the year with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor McGinn. Counselor Turco.
Thank you. Obviously, you guys spoke, so I have to say, it's been a great time. It's been great having you on here. You have become a very close friend of mine, and hopefully the phone conversations continue, my friend. But thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Counselor Turco. Any other counselors? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.